Welcome to the All Inclusive Podcast. I'm your host, Shy. And today we just going to jump right on in. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in to the first episode of season 4. Y'all really gave really good feedback. Got a lot of personal emails and comments and stuff like that and messages. So thank y'all for supporting, and for the people who have not supported that episode, go back. I really dive into a part of myself that most people don't know. And I talked about, some things that I typically don't talk about on the show, like love and shit like that. So, um, yeah, thank you. But today, we have episode 2. And like I said, we just going to dive on in. I'm going to introduce my guest and I'm going to see how she's doing today. Do a temperature check. Today's guest is someone who works sits at the intersection of mental health, education, advocacy, and resilience. Jaleesa Lewis is a licensed clinical social worker, educator, and entrepreneur from Southeast DC when it was Chocolate City, right?
Of course.
Of course. Okay. Okay. Um, who has dedicated her career to helping others navigate life's most complex emotional and psychological challenges. She is the founder and owner of Kimmy Wellness Counseling, which she provides compassionate, evidence-based support to individuals working through trauma, life transitions, and mental health concerns. In addition to her clinical work, Jaleesa is deeply committed to her education and mentorship. She currently serves as an adjunct professor at Ultimate Medical Academy and has started to pursue her PhD at Walden University, but is currently on medical leave. Her work continues to focus on how we support diverse learners and communities through accessible, compassionate care. Beyond her professional roles, Jaleesa brings a powerful lived experience to this conversation as she navigates multiple chronic health conditions. Today, she is here to share her journey and what it means to build a life, career, and sense of purpose while living with chronic illness. Please join me in welcoming Jaleesa Lewis. Can I get some hand claps? That'll be edited
Close enough.
in. That'll be edited in. Um, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me a space to talk. Not sure exactly what we're going to talk about, but I'm open.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So, um, temperature check. How are you feeling about today's show? And how are you feeling?
Uh, I always feel like crap.
Okay.
I might not always look like it, but I always feel like crap. I was
Okay.
literally just battling with the pharmacy for my pain medication that I have been
Mm.
out of for 3 weeks,
Oh
literally
wow.
right before this.
Wow.
So I'm holding it together though, like always. Black women, we just got to push through.
Yes, yes, yes. So today's show, we're actually going to give a voice to your um battle with chronic illness. And you pointed something
Okay.
out really well, which is, hey, I might not look like I feel like crap, but I'm always feeling something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, to take it back, can you give me a little bit of what your upbringing was like in Chocolate City?
Ooh, okay. It was tumultuous. A little bit of good, a little bit of bad.
Okay.
Um, my maternal family is still there,
Hmm.
so it was a lot of the things that you used to see in the hood. We lived in like a court, as they called it back then. I don't know what they're calling it now,
Okay.
where you would just play with the kids, do a little kickball, ride your bike. We were outside back then.
Right, right, right.
So that part was fun, but
Hmm.
then you had your other parts where there was shooting, drugs, and all that extra stuff. So it was a bit much, and my mother and I didn't see eye to eye, so that made things a little bit more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have been on my own since I was 16.
Oh wow.
She put me out the house,
Oh
so
wow.
that was another part of the journey.
A part of the journey. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, with your upbringing being so um tumultuous, as you would put it, um, tell me how you transitioned from 16 to college because you're a very educated black woman. So tell me, about that.
So in the beginning, it's a little complicated. It's gonna sound crazy, but it's gonna sound
Listen,
like a Maury episode.
it's
But
a
here we
safe
go. In
space. It's a safe
in the
space.
beginning, I tried to stay with my so-called father, or the
Okay.
guy she was saying was my father at the time. It was not
Okay.
a good look. He also lived in Southeast
Okay.
on what I like to call the other side,
Okay.
towards Southern Avenue. And it was not a good mix. He had some questionable friends who were sexually inappropriate.
Oh wow.
So I ended up kind of house hopping with some friends while we were in high school.
Okay.
And then ultimately, once my girlfriend came back to town, because she was away in like New York for the summer with her mom's family, I told her what was going on. And we talked to her dad, and he said, "No, you're going to come live with us."
Okay.
And so I lived with him for the rest of it.
Okay.
He did everything. I did work. So I did work to kind of take care of myself. But other than that, like trips, life, he dropped me off at college. I wouldn't be where I am without him.
Okay. Okay. And when you say girlfriend, you mean like you're in the alphabet community, right?
Yes, I am a lesbian.
Okay. All right. Um so uh you talked about like, being dropped off to college. What college did you attend?
I have been to a lot, unfortunately, just due to illness.
Okay.
I started my journey at University of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to do is being, on your own at a very young age and not being close to your family. My friends were my family.
Yes.
So I was like applying to schools that we all could go to. And that was a school that we all got into with our various GPAs. So like five of us went to college together
Okay. Okay.
so that we could be together as a little family. But while I was there, I got sick again, had surgery, and so I ended up leaving after my first semester to come back home and heal. And so I went to community for about a year at Montgomery College
Okay.
before I finished my bachelor's at Clark Atlanta,
Okay. The Clark Atlanta, huh?
the illustrious.
Yes. Okay. Okay. It's something about HBCUs. Like when someone attends a HBCU, because I didn't get my degree from Morgan, right? But I rep Morgan so hard because that was a part of my life or part of my journey, right? That I really grew up. I went to Morgan. I was shy. I was timid. I really didn't talk that much. I actually came up with the idea to start a podcast when I was at Morgan. Years later, now I have a podcast. But just to think that like that seed got planted when I was there, it just makes me like look back and be like, oh my God, like I really grew up there, right? And then with HBCUs, it's just this spirit like of being on campus, of being around black excellence, of being around just black power. Um, and you just meet wonderful people there. I mean, lifelong friends, honestly. So yeah, I love a HBCU. I'm pushing all my nieces, nephews if they decide to go to college. My son, he's done his tour at Morgan, um, to attend a HBCU because it's nothing like a HBCU, right? Um,
It's not. It completely changed the trajectory of my life, my major,
mhm,
everything. It definitely guided the path that I'm on now. I met
mhm,
so many great people. I wasn't even a social work major when I started there. I just went to
mhm,
like a social work symposium as a part of the orientation, and
mhm.
they got me.
They got you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Because I was gonna ask what was your major, or how.
Originally forensic anthropology. I wanted
Okay.
to study bones and dead bodies.
Okay.
Um, but it, as you can see, is completely different.
What? Okay. Um, my major at Morgan, I started as psychology, and then I moved over to sociology. So, social science. We all a part of the
It's
whole
close.
family. Yeah, right. But my most enjoyable classes were social work. Honestly, I feel like I'm a social work case. So, you know, I can I
Aren't
can
we all?
relate, right? So, yeah. So you hit on the fact that you had to leave college because you got sick. So let's dive into that. Let's dive into um, what illness you had and um, what illnesses you battle with now. So can we start to talk about that?
Oh my God. I feel like I'm collecting them like Pokemon cards at this point. They say that when you have a lot of trauma in your life as a woman, you start to develop chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases. So they're
Mhm.
trying to make that connection. And I can definitely see that given my life structure. But at that time, it started with endometriosis and PCOS,
Okay.
which I found has been quite popular in women. Um, I don't, and again, I don't always present with all the symptoms like everyone else did.
Mhm.
So I had the chronic pain, the missed periods, the bloating, things that didn't make sense because I've always been a lesbian. So it wasn't like I was getting pregnant
Right.
or
Right.
anything
Right.
crazy happening. And so I had my first surgery at 13,
Oh wow.
and then I had quite a few more after that. So started with my appendix to try to, get my stomach to feel better. Then I had two on my uterus. I had my tonsils removed at 15. And so by the time I got to college, it was my ovary that was acting up. And then they finally diagnosed me with polycystic ovaries.
Okay.
And so they just kept draining a cyst in the ovary versus taking it out back then. They're like, you're young, you're going to want to have kids. We're not going to do anything to it. So I ended up having a surgery away in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And the part of Pennsylvania we were in was quite interesting. We were in Erie. We weren't at the main campus where they only had two Black people in the whole town,
Oh wow.
which happened to be the OBGYN and his assistant.
Oh wow.
So I went back and forth to the hospital quite a bit until they finally agreed to go ahead and do the surgery. And, life got better for a little bit. So that was like 2007.
Mhm.
And I ended up having a surgery again for the same thing in 2011
Oh wow.
while I was at Clark Atlanta as well.
Okay. Do you feel like because you were in two different demographics that you got better treatment? Because we talk about like how black people, especially black women, they do not listen to us. The maternal rate of black women is like, it's like what, three times as high for a black woman to die as opposed to the counterpart, a white woman, a white woman to
Mm-hmm.
die. Um,
That's
just
actually what
because
I'm
they're
doing
not
my doctorate on.
really.
Black maternal health care. Yes, that
Okay.
is that is what I'm
Listen,
working
I
on,
have
because
some.
of my experiences.
Yeah, I have um some insight that I could give you. Because when I miscarried, it was like I got some insight to give you. We not gonna go deep
Okay.
into it, but
Yeah,
uh,
definitely doing my dissertation on it. Yes. So I also had men. Both of those doctors were men, and I feel like men treat you like you're exaggerating the
mm,
pain. At least from my experience, especially from an OBGYN perspective. I
mm,
don't even know why they become OBGYNs. How are you going to tell me about parts that you don't have?
about my cootie cat, right, right.
Like, what are we talking about here? So it was definitely a struggle. I felt like I constantly had to prove that I wasn't feeling well or that the pain was real.
Mm, mm.
But it's
Okay.
like, what am I doing all this surgery for? You think people just want to get cut open? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then I'm in college, so it's all the rumors. Oh, she went and ran off and had an abortion and all this kind of crazy
Oh
stuff.
wow.
And I'm in like a committed relationship with a
Hmm.
woman. And so it's just so annoying. It
Yeah.
was very frustrating.
Yeah. So with something that you pointed out, um, I'm gonna take a deep breath, is the fact that you had one of your ovaries removed, but you ended up getting pregnant, correct?
So the ovary removal didn't happen until after the fact.
Okay.
I've had a million surgeries. At this point, I think I'm at 15 actual surgeries, not
Hmm.
including like regular procedures.
Okay.
Um so they drained the ovary several times. Between my uterus and my ovary, I've had six of the or seven of the actual surgeries are for that alone.
Oh wow.
I got pregnant via a donor when I
Okay.
was 25 finishing my master's program in Miami.
Okay.
Just by myself. I wasn't in a relationship at the time.
Mm.
And I lost the baby at 5 months. So I had to actually deliver. She lived for about an hour. And so Cami Wellness is named after my deceased daughter, Camille.
Okay. Okay. That's why I took a deep breath because we, have communicated about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Oh
just
no,
out of
I'm in a better space about
okay.
it. Her birthday is actually coming up next month in 2 weeks,
Okay. Okay.
literally. So it's the 14th. I still celebrate it, and if I'm feeling low, I stay to myself. It's
Okay.
been 12 years now, so
Okay. Okay.
I did not have my ovary and uterus removed actually until last year on my birthday.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I had been in and out of the hospital for about 6 months. I couldn't eat. I had lost a ton of weight. The endometriosis had spread and fused my uterus to my colon. So they had to save the colon so I didn't end up with a bag. It was a whole big thing. And then after the surgery, I ended up septic. So then I had to have another surgery to go in there and flush out the infection to keep from having any more surgeries.
Wow. Wow. Um so when we talk about illness, right? We're going to go back a little bit.
Hmm.
In the beginning you were like, "Hey, I might not always look like I feel." What are the misconceptions that you feel like you encounter? Because I'm going to call it not hats, I'm going to say crowns, because it's just something about a
Hmm.
black woman and what we carry every day, our plight, um, and the strength that we have to possess and go out in this world to just we got a code switch a whole lot. Um, so what do you think the most common conceptions that you uh have with your illnesses?
The biggest thing that I get is I don't look sick or I
Uh-huh.
don't look like what I've been through.
Uh-huh.
Just because I keep my hair and my nails done does not mean that I'm fine. I'm a believer in if you look better, you feel better.
Yes.
So I maintain these things in order to maintain my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you're chronically ill, you can't roll out of bed and do your hair every morning. You need something that's already locked in place,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to put a lot of different things in place in your life just to be able to function that most people don't even see.
Yeah.
They a lot of my friends, even when I tell them, I'm not doing good, I'm in a lot of pain, it's like, you sure? Because you got so much done. I don't feel like the world gives me a choice
Mm-hmm.
to stop. So it's always like you're not really disabled if you can work, but most people don't understand the system is not set up for you to be disabled. I applied for disability in 2024 before all the extra stuff kicked in,
Mm-hmm.
and since I applied, I've had 7 surgeries, 7
Wow.
actual literal procedures. Kidney surgery, the hysterectomy. I've had 3 neurosurgeries. My hair in the back still hasn't grown back yet.
Yeah, we're gonna hit
So
on that.
people don't get to see everything, but it's always this thought like, you look fine, you're working. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I have been denied for disability twice.
Okay.
The adjunct role at Ultimate Medical Academy actually gave me the opportunity to be full time. So I'm now a full time
Congratulations.
professor there. Thank you. But I don't have the luxury of not working.
Right.
Bills still have to be paid.
Hmm.
Even if I would have gotten disability working since I was 16, the max I could get is 1900 a month.
Uh-huh.
How can you pay your rent, pay your car note, pay the doctor bills? I was paying 627 a month alone in health insurance.
Oh wow.
That doesn't include the medication and the procedures. Each surgery was a $300 copay, and I said I had 7. So I was maxing out my out of pocket, and that money has to come from somewhere.
Hmm.
So the thought that you're fine because you can work is a huge misconception, because if I could take a break, I would.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so if you could give illness, your illnesses a voice, what would you
Mhm.
say to it
Mm. Is this going to be said to other people about it or to the illness themselves?
themselves?
Mm. I think the only thing I would say is I'm not going to let it beat me.
Okay.
Like I said, I've collected quite a few since. So I've always had asthma. I have the endometriosis, the PCOS, and while they're always scanning and try to figure things out, I have chronic migraines. They haven't figured out the cause. I
Hmm.
actually have a machine in my head that's constantly pulsing to minimize them.
Oh
And
wow.
most people don't even know that exist. Um, I've had a couple of surgeries on my rotator cuff. That's permanently damaged. Once it's broken, it's broken. Um, I also have been recently diagnosed with fibromyalgia, CRPS because of the shoulder, and rheumatoid arthritis. So everything that hurts
Yeah.
is on my list.
Yeah.
Everything that causes significant pain. And so it's like, I never know which one is which.
Uh-huh.
And some days it gets the best of me and I don't want to do much. But most days, I'm like, I'm not going to let this win. I still have a life to live.
Yeah. Yeah. I know for your birthday, I was like, "Oh, you was living it up," and you was like, "Listen,
People don't see the behind the scenes,
yeah,
okay? They see me
yeah,
out, they see the heels, they see my hair done. So if I'm going out, it's literally, I usually do one thing a week
uh huh,
because it takes like 2 to 3 business days to recover after. If I'm
okay,
doing 2 things back to back, I am in bed until I leave out of the door. I cannot function. I'm like an old person. And it's people like to think I have so many like little things around the house that help me
mhm,
function. Like I have a shower chair.
okay,
Like the energy that I have to reserve. I had occupational therapy in the hospital, and they were like, conserve the energy when you can. So I have a
okay,
little stool. So when I'm sitting down doing my makeup or brushing my teeth, like I'm sitting in the stool.
okay,
So you get to see the put together version,
right,
but people that are around more get to see the fall apart. Like I used to do Sunday fun days with my best friend,
mhm,
and we would have a blast. And then by the time I'm in home, I'm in tears the next day. And so she actually got to see that once because I stayed at her house the next day, and she was just like, we're not going out anymore. We're gonna
okay,
do everything in the house. It petrified her. And we've been friends for 20 years. She was there since college.
mhm,
So she's seen all the ups and downs, been at the hospital with me, and she was scared for the first time.
yeah, yeah. So that's good that you were just talking about your best friend. Besides your best friend, who else is like your village that like? Because I'm a firm believer that adults need healthy villages, right? So who else is
Mhm.
a part of your village?
Ooh, my village is mostly my friends. I have friendships that have lasted quite a long time. I have my stepdad. Him and my mom are not together,
Uh huh.
but he is my a huge support. Of course, I have my lovely wife. I am a newlywed. We've been
Okay.
married for almost a year and a
Congratulations.
half now.
Congratulations.
So, and she's also chronically ill. So she has the empathy and the understanding that everyone else doesn't.
Right.
It's like, you don't understand pain that you haven't been through. So
Right.
that has been a huge help. So my stepdad and my best friends, I have a tribe of like at least a solid five and a,
Okay.
a good extended two that are just always there. They kind of take turns. When my wife can't take me to an appointment, my best friend takes me. If
Okay.
I need anything when I'm in DC, it's between my stepdad and my friend that was my high school sweetheart that her dad took me in.
Uh-huh.
We are still very, very close. We've
Okay.
been locked in since we was 15.
Okay.
So she's a huge support. So when I have to, because half my doctors are in Atlanta and the other half are in Maryland.
Okay.
So when I have to see certain specialists, I have to go up there too. So then that part of the team picks up.
Okay. That's good to have that support. Something that I had to really like battle with a question for you is this.
Hmm.
Have you ever gotten mad with God?
Huh. I like to say we have a love hate relationship.
Okay.
um, because when you're in your darkness, it's like, why me?
Mm-hmm.
Why me? I feel like all my trauma, I didn't let it turn me cold. I use it. I use it to help my clients. I use it to help
Yes.
people I don't know. The loss of my daughter, I use it to show love and donate to people. I feel like I'm such a loving person. It's like, why would you choose me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's an on and off battle, and me and my therapist talk about it quite a bit.
Okay.
Um, but then there's so much that goes right, and it's just like I know that it's beyond me. There's so many situations literally where I shouldn't even be alive
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm surprised I even made it. Actually, the last podcast interview I did was years ago. I want to say 2020, maybe 2021, called Suicide Pages. I had
Okay.
actually had a suicide attempt back in 2019
Okay.
where I was just tired and overwhelmed with all the hurt and the grief and the trauma. And in that, I found my purpose of, just pouring more.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like being sick prevents me from doing what I really want to do. And that's when I question. But I've been getting deeper into my faith. I've
Okay.
learned to not pull away when I get in those spaces. I stopped going into church, but I do watch my church virtually.
Okay.
And I actually ended up getting like a scripture and a picture on my arm,
Okay.
of a psalm.
Uh-huh.
And so I look at that and it's pretty much saying, she can make it through anything because God is within her.
Okay.
And so I use that to kind of guide me as I'm going through this unfortunately never ending journey.
Okay.
Because chronic illnesses don't have to be terminal, but most of the time they are permanent. There's no cure.
Yeah. 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 So when you I like how you put things because a lot of times people don't understand that the most kindest, nicest people have endured so much trauma. It's like the trauma that they have endured has literally created this beautiful person who has empathy and will help everybody. And I know for myself, like, I've gone through a lot of things, but I refuse to let that be my story. I refuse to give to the world what sometimes the world has given to me, right? But
Mm-hmm.
we have the power to change the narrative. Um, I guess the season is about changing the narrative when I really think about it. Um, I started with my first episode and um, I was so nervous, but you know, it's literally changing the narrative. And so, what would you like to say to people who have these chronic illnesses, who have gone through this trauma and stuff like that? What would you like to say to that? Say to them, and then also, so it's two questions. What would you like your legacy to be?
Okay. To them, I would say it's okay to be vulnerable. As a Black woman, I was raised to be strong. I was raised to be independent. And sometimes chronic illness takes that away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't do it by yourself. You need to be able to rely on people, whether that's outside people for support. I've joined so many Facebook groups just based on the certain diagnosis where, I can talk to people and just vent and they understand what I'm going through. As a therapist, I became a trauma specialist and
Uh-huh.
actually a suicide prevention specialist because I use that. Not a lot of people know about that experience for me because it's like, well, how can you be a therapist and go through that? I tell my clients all the time, I am a human being. Life happens to me like it happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use that stress and that experience to tell them what they need to hear. What did I want to hear when I was at my lowest? What did I need when I was at my lowest?
Uh-huh.
And I have the pleasure of being that person to give it back to others.
Yeah.
Um, and that's pretty much what I want my legacy to be. That, you don't have to be strong all the time, but you can't let life defeat you.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Um, this episode is really special to me because um you and I met at the Black Educated Lesbians Conference, right? And
Hmm.
um I stepped outside of my comfort zone, not just like not doing any like it was in Atlanta. I love Atlanta, by the way. But just being around other lesbians because
Hmm.
I don't wear this. I mean, I'm dominant presenting, but I don't wear this. Hey, I'm gay sign on me. Like my clothes enough says I'm gay, right? How I present
Right.
myself. So my day to day, I'm not like, hey, I'm Shakira, I'm gay. Hey, I'm Shakira. As a matter of fact, I eat pussy. As a matter of fact, I like that's not who I am, right? So when
Right.
I present myself as a human. So it's really special for me to have this conversation with you because number one, you're in the community, and black women are so fucking dope. Like I love us black women. Like it's just something about us. Like we have superpowers, right? And so I thank you for being vulnerable, um, for even coming on because I know that you've had a busy week. You was partying and for your birthday, and I know that you had the
Shout out to Cardi B.
shout out to Cardi B. And then also I know that you like wear so many crowns. We're gonna call it. Um, and so I thank you for being able to, pull yourself together and get on here. We wanted to do it, face to face, but I thank you so, so much because who knows in the next 3 days how your next 3 days are going to be, how your next 3 hours are going to be. And so I applaud you for all the work that you're doing, for not allowing your chronic illnesses to defeat you, for you kind of like defeating them in a way. Um, and I just appreciate the time that you have taken to be a part of the all inclusive family for real. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. We were in the same boat when we went to that conference. I had never been before. I
Mhm.
went by myself. Like I was stepping outside my comfort zone. I was also feeling very terrible then. A couple of times I had to leave because my migraines were getting worse and it was hard to be present. But again, it was another one of those moments where, no one really knew what was going
Right.
on besides the owner. She knew what I was going through at the time, but
Mhm.
it was a chance meeting and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm reading your book and I'm like, "Oh, I just did a book too." And it was just
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
perfect to come together and meet so many, successful black women with so much ambition and different goals. I'm just glad I get to be a part of that and, share my story to help anybody in any way that I can.
Yeah. Cause my big thing is like impact on the show. Like if I'm going to do an interview, it has to be impactful. And impact for me is not a whole bunch of quantity, it's about quality. So,
Mhm.
um, if it touches one person, then the impact is made, because that might have just been the one person that maybe, suicidal, or maybe going through illness, or may have gone through trauma, and it's like, I don't even know, maybe a teenage girl, I don't know if I want to go to college. Well, now this is a woman who, has gone through multiple colleges and is about to get her PhD. Like, it- you can't get no more awesome
I
than that,
actually
right?
start back on the 25th of May.
Okay,
I resume
good,
my
good,
program on the 25th of May.
good,
So
good, good, good.
I'm getting back in there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And like I said, we can connect off screen. We'll text or whatever. And I got some information I could give you from my perspective. Uh,
Okay.
Cause the maternal health thing is just like, it's heart wrenching when you really think about it. Like, they really do not care about us, and whoever can feel however, but they really don't listen to hear us in the medical field. And I'm in the medical field. So, um, and when I'm like sick and I'm advocating for myself, I had an experience actually where I was sick, went to my doctor. My doctor sent me to ended up sending me to the ER. And they were like, it was crazy. Like, they started me with uh some pain medication, and I was like, I'm not taking narcotics. I don't take narcotics, right? So as time went on, I'm still in pain. I'm like, you could just give me like a Tylenol or like a Motrin or something like that. Do you know that they put an order in to see if I had drugs in my system? And I was like, what made you think that I had drugs in my system? And I literally was telling you, I do not take narcotics. I'm in pain. I'm physically, you could see me balled up in pain. And I'm still telling you I'm not willing to take narcotics. So for y'all to even think that I had drugs in my system already, that's crazy to me. And then when I was like, oh, I work in the medical field, they were like, oh, like that tone change. And I was like
Mhm.
throwing out stuff, and they're like, oh, okay. She's not just this black girl who's here in pain trying to tell them, hey, I need some help. Like, something has to give. So I've had that experience, and so I can only imagine with chronic illness how that works, you know.
It's a battle for every single thing. They literally denied because I switched insurances since I
Uh,
started working full time and they gave me a much cheaper insurance, but I went
Good.
to a different coverage
Okay.
and they denied everything that I was already on.
Oh, wow.
So it has literally been like trying to start over
Mm.
and I mean, not just the narcotics, everything. Every single thing, even the medicine for the rheumatoid arthritis, like there's so much going on. And it's just a battle. And being chronically ill, advocacy. You're always
Yeah.
fighting. You're
Yeah.
fighting a doctor, you're fighting a pharmacy, you're fighting the health insurance. And it's just like, look, I don't have the extra energy for that.
Right. Right.
And that's where you have to use your village. Like this week was the first time I let my wife handle it. And I was just like, look, I don't have time. And finally, I just gave up. I was like, I'm going to pay out of pocket. And
Yeah.
that's literally what happened before I got on today. I was like, just give it to me and I will pay out of pocket. I'm not going back and forth with y'all anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You did mention that your wife is like chronically ill too. So, like, how does
Mhm.
that dynamic work for you guys?
It's better than most would expect. Because we have that different level of understanding
Mm.
for each other, like that different level of empathy. I am a people reader as a therapist. I already know the signs, the things that when things start to decline. And so I kind of just pick up where she lacks and vice versa.
Okay.
So I'll take her to her appointments. My schedule is very flexible. Even with
Okay.
teaching, I'm asynchronous. So it's I log in when I log in and get my work done outside of my office hours.
Okay.
So being chronically ill, I can't stick to a specific schedule. It just doesn't work. I
Right.
never know what the next day is going to look like.
Right.
And so with her, she makes her appointments in the morning before she has to go to work. So I take her to her monthly surgeries, her monthly infusions. We kind of just alternate, and we have like a joint calendar so we know whose appointment is when. It's a lot of navigating,
Okay.
but it's a lot of support
Okay.
in
Okay.
ways that we both weren't used to. Like, oh, no one's ever spent the night in the hospital with me before. And, no one's ever gone to all my appointments. I'm
Mhm.
usually having to go through this myself. And I think it brought us closer faster. They like to say lesbians U-Haul, but I think we definitely became closer as we supported each other.
Okay. Yeah, I've never you hold ever.
I guess technically you could say we did. We met, we dated, and got married all in the same year. So we met at the beginning of the year in January, and we got married at the end of the year in December. But that's
Okay.
only because she's one of those girls, and she's like, I want this specific date.
Okay.
It's just perfect. So
Okay.
our date was 12/12/24.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
that meant something to her, and so I let her have it.
You was
Happy
like,
wife,
oh,
happy life.
right, 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 right. Um, okay, okay. Cause when you said that, I was like, oh wow, that's a different dynamic of having two
Hmm.
chronically ill, you know.
And we grew up
People.
looking at it differently too. Like her
Okay.
family doesn't really like to talk about it. It's like, don't tell people your business. You want
Mhm.
to put on a good face. And that's the part that has Black women struggling in silence.
Mhm.
Because if nobody knows I'm sick, how is anybody going to help me?
Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to the wife for making sure you good to go, and shout out to you making sure y'all. Um, do you think that mentally, you like on your mentally bad days, like it kind of like balances out for you guys? Like she's pretty much up when you are down, or have y'all ever had like moments where y'all both are like
Oh yeah, we've
mentally
definitely had
down?
moments where we're both down.
Okay.
We both have individual therapy plus couple therapy. I don't
Okay.
play no
Good.
games about mental health.
Yes.
Everybody needs to be getting some help. You need somebody to talk to.
Okay.
So when I feel myself lower, I have a different level of awareness. So I pick up with therapy so that I don't constantly burden my partner or my friends.
Okay.
So I'll call my therapist and be like, look, we got to go twice a week. I got to see you 2 times a week. Pencil me in. So I do have a recurrent appointment every week.
Okay.
And then if anything more than that is needed, then I'll ask to be added. And sometimes I need it and sometimes I don't, but
Okay.
I'd rather have it than not,
Right. 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 Right.
because
Right.
just carrying the weight of everyone else's life and everyone else's
Yes.
burden on top of the things they don't see behind the curtain is a lot.
Yeah.
But when we're both down, typically I'm the one that'll push through a little bit more.
Okay.
Um, just because it's my nature. It's my nature to be what my best friend likes to call a caregiver. So I don't ever want to see somebody else down. And she's working on me with being more vulnerable and allowing, her and anybody else to kind of step up and step in.
Okay.
I realized at a point I didn't know what I needed. People are like, "Well, what do you need? How can I help you?" And I'm so used to doing it on my own. I didn't know. I didn't know how to ask for help or what they could do to make it easier.
Okay. Okay. So that's another, I guess, uh, voice that you're giving to your illnesses is like, hey, what am I needing at that moment? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. All right. So we didn't wrapped up this interview. Um, it's so many just different things that we've hit in this interview: mental health, black women, uh, the chronic illness, the legacy part, how you can um, like just push through all of your battles and stuff like that. So um, today's episode is actually giving a voice to silent battles. That's the title of it.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
that.
Because especially now, um, in America specifically, It's so many people battling, right, with all these silent
Mhm.
things, the mental health, the financial and stuff like that, and people are just like trying to push through, but we are seeing like a breakdown in mental health so bad. Um, I'm proud of our people because I see more of our people going to actually getting, the mental health help that's needed. Um, but we are dealing with a system who does not listen to us as a people. So
Mhm.
um, like I said again, thank you so much, so much for coming on, for pushing through, and for giving a voice to your illnesses. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for creating the space to have the conversation. And hopefully, the awareness will continue to grow. And that whole strong Black woman schema can break down just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All right, so I'm Shy. That's Jaleesa. It's been an episode on the All Inclusive Podcast. Peace.